to order. Please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, we'll do a quick roll call. Councilor Appleman?
Present.
Here. Councilor Hutchison?
Here.
Councilor Youngman?
Here.
Councilor Merritt?
Here.
Councilor Papke?
Here.
And Councilor Law?
Present.
And myself, present. All right, we'll go right into the State of the City address. Good evening, citizens of Prineville, Oregon. Our city of Prineville ends 2020 having weathered an unpredictable, unprecedented set of circumstances that our country and the world had not seen for more than a century. Our focus early on, when the effects of COVID compromised our health, safety, and economic security, was continuity of city government. I've opined to you my belief in the strength of the team we have here at the city of Prineville. Please believe me when I say our strength was tested this past year. Staff spent untold hours making certain city safety and services were provided at the same high level of quality and service expected during standard times. Your city manager, police chief, and city attorney met every day, 7 days a week for 3 months to make sure we have the resources, strategies, and relationships in place to keep our community safe. During such uncertain and precarious times, many other City of Prineville employees and other local partners sacrificed above and beyond with their time and dedication for this community. And it paid off as we made it through. City projects were continued and completed on schedule. Long-term planning modeling was updated and completed as we rolled into the next budget process. Our city didn't miss a beat. We recognize we are not through the COVID pandemic yet, but we've learned much this year. We are well positioned to continue to manage our city successfully and protect and support our business community, job creators, citizens, and continue our culture of excellence. I would like to highlight a list of accomplishments and challenges for each department during 2020. Our police department and dispatch center. 2020 accomplishments for the police. The new police dispatch building is almost complete. We are on our deadline and within budget. We are targeting April, May to move in. The new building will provide several benefits to our community and the officers that serve them, to include being strategically located out of the floodplain, meeting the state's earthquake standards, providing a community room, and will be large enough to house our critical first responders for years to come. Created a new position based on community needs, the CRO or Community Response Team officer. This officer is paired up with a mental health professional partner. Together, they make positive, proactive contacts with various people with mental health issues, drug and alcohol dependencies, etc., helping them get the service they need before they reach a crisis level. This position is in cooperation with Best Care and the drug and alcohol courts. Dispatch. Dispatch moved to our backup center and operating remotely due to COVID-19. We are one of the first in the state to take this preventative measure and completed the move in 2 days. We defined new values, integrity, professionalism, service, and growth and development, and purchased ProQA emergency medical dispatch software, which will help with the efficiency dispatching medical calls and integrate into our computer-aided dispatch. Community-related accomplishments for these two. Organized Shop with a Cop in Crook County, which raised thousands of dollars to help needy children and their families, and engaged in random acts of kindness during Christmas, providing donated gift cards to random citizens to humanize our officers to the public. Our funds for this increased substantially due to citizens' donations. 2021 challenges for these two departments: complete new police dispatch facility project, look at creating street crimes detective to assist with habitual crime issues in Prineville, and look for additional training opportunities in dispatch. Railroad Department 2020 accomplishments. The railroad has maintained a fund balance at over policy for the fifth consecutive year, with a beginning fund balance of $1,150,560, up from a low of $635,000 in 2014. Customer base continues to be over 50 active customers utilizing rail and rail facilities, and secured a 15-year lease with pipe manufacturer KRAH, or K-R-A-H. Railroad challenges: state regulatory and additional policy changes from the Federal Railroad Administration will require more personnel to do the same traffic volume that would cause a financial strain to a small railroad. Aging rolling stock that includes locomotives, equipment, and vehicles will need replacing and updating. Meadow Lakes 2020 achievements. Began the irrigation renovation project. The old system was nearing the end of its 20 to 30-year projected lifespan. The project is currently 2/3 done, with the remaining portion to be completed in the spring once the temperature allows. 2020 calendar year marked new revenue highs in all major golf course revenue streams, including green fees, cart fees, driving range, annual passes, and merchandise. Total revenue increased by 20% over 2019. Some challenges that Meadow Lakes faced: maintaining the momentum from the uptick in play in 2020. A portion of the increased play has been linked to the pandemic due to other recreational activities not being available to people. We need to keep that customer base and do our best to avoid decline once the pandemic is controlled and other options become available to people again. Continue to practice appropriate COVID regulations and protocols to keep staff and customers safe at Meadow Lakes during the remainder of the pandemic. Public Works 2020 achievements. Overall, a master plan for the Barnes Butte recreational area and joint community-wide master plan with the Crook County Parks and Rec Department was completed. Engagement by the public in all development of this property has been wonderful and is expected to continue into 2021. With the implementation of these plans. Street Department. Construction began on the realignment of North Main and North 10th Street intersection. By reconstructing the existing offset T alignment, pedestrian safety will be greatly improved. The Rails to Trails grant has been finalized and construction has begun. This project will develop a paved trail along the abandoned railroad right-of-way from Combs Flat to Juniper Street. Water Department. Construction continued on the Aquifer Storage and Recovery Project. This unique project will result in a project that will provide water to the city of Prineville for the next 30 to 50 years. This environmentally friendly project is drought and climate change resistant and is expected to put Prineville on the map as a water secure area to develop. Water rights from the 2014 Crooked River legislation have been finalized with the Bureau of Reclamation and will serve the next 50 to 100 years of growth within our community. Wastewater. The Wastewater Fund also supported the Meadow Lakes Golf Course irrigation system upgrade. The existing irrigation system was over 20 years old and had reached its useful life. The new system is expected to improve course conditions. A summary of wastewater reuse options is being created to offer new and existing customers the opportunity to utilize treated effluent for production needs. By providing a water source other than potable, industries may be attracted to Prineville. Challenges for the Public Works Department are to secure stable funding for street maintenance. Airport 2020 achievements. Completed the USFS, or United States Forest Service, Central Oregon Helibase. Coordinated donations of previous BLM facility to Crook County for a new emergency operations center. Challenges: supporting public tenants through COVID restrictions. Recruiting additional aviation-based businesses to the site at the Prineville Airport. Planning Department 2020 achievements. As of December 28th, the Planning Department has processed 136 applications. This is slightly down from last year, but with COVID-19 restrictions, it is not surprising. This number includes 71 new dwellings, of which 58 were standard stick-built homes, with the others comprising of 3 duplexes, 5 manufactured, and 2 equivalent dwelling units. This is nearly identical to last year's total. While single family remained the same, multifamily development dropped off significantly, with no new applications for projects. This is primarily due to the 3 projects approved last year, totaling 188 units, or 189 units, which have yet to be completed. 2 of these projects, a 135-unit complex off Northeast Peters Road and a 10-unit complex off of Southwest Deer Street, are nearing completion. The other 44-unit Housing Works project is expected to break ground in February. Development of a trail system has begun on the easement secured last year within the Ochoco Point subdivision that connect to the city's Barnes Butte recreation area. A bridge over the wetland is scheduled for the fall of 2021. Planning Department challenges. Code enforcement, particularly with commercial development requirements, junk and debris, RV usage, use of shipping containers in development and repairing setbacks, and floodplains. Balancing, facilitating development while maintaining long-range community development goals. This includes economic development and quality of life amenities for our citizens. Finance Department 2020 achievements. Awarded the prestigious CAFR, Consolidated Annual Financial Report, Excellence in Financial Reporting for fiscal year 19, the 4th year in a row. GFOA Award for winning budget 14 years in a row. Successfully created and implemented a temporary relief program to help customers who are financially affected by COVID-19. Some challenges for 2020. The Finance Department are anticipating revenue growth from long-term enterprise zone roll-offs in 2027. Anticipating franchise fee growth and utility usage with the continued expansion of data centers. And long-range financial planning and maintaining sustainability for the future. The IT Department 2020 achievements. Moved entire dispatch center to their backup location within 48 hours to separate departments in response to COVID-19. Expanded the city's fiber infrastructure to connect new facilities and provide enhanced services to users. Some challenges are upcoming facility moves and supporting legacy systems while transitioning to new systems. The Human Resources and Risk Management 2020 achievements. Continue training for department heads on justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, or JEDI, and leadership development. Stay abreast of all state and federal COVID-19 regulatory updates and implemented facility-specific safety procedures for employees to follow. Some challenges: succession planning for the team members, and training to keep current for new and ever-changing state and federal regulations and COVID. City manager, staff, council goal-related achievements for 2020. The Habitat Conservation Plan was finalized and signed as U.S. Fish and Wildlife has issued the Deschutes Basin Board of Control irrigation districts and the City of Prineville an incidental take permit, which provides us with protection from the Endangered Species Act legal action as a result of city operations. This effort has been ongoing for over a decade, and the City of Prineville is unique as an applicant and recipient of a permit. Another testimonial to the leadership and the foresight of our team in protecting vital resources for future generations. Led the first effort in Central Oregon to develop and adopt a JEDI committee with representation from the BLM, LGBT, and other stakeholders. Our committee is ongoing and continues to develop. Some of the challenges will be development of strategic financial plan and policies for anticipated incremental growth in both franchise fee and property tax income growth in 2027 when the first tax exemptions roll off. develop an implementation of policies and procedures that offer more access and inclusion for underrepresented citizens to participate in city government. Although I've only highlighted a few of the achievements and challenges from each department, there are many more that could be listed. This year has been challenging for the city of Prineville, but we have overcome by adjusting to an ever-changing environment. The effects of COVID-19 have created a dynamic operation for the city, staff, and council and residents, but we are standing strong and moving forward. I would like to conclude by taking the time to thank those who contribute to the city of Prineville's success. I want to thank former council member Teresa Rumble for her time and effort put forth to serve the citizens of Prineville. This to me defines selfless service, and I'm very proud to have served with her. I want to thank Mayor Steve Uffelman for his continued service to the citizens by remaining on the city council after years of dedicated service to Prineville. I want to thank Gail Merritt for her ongoing service in her third full term as a council member. I want to thank and welcome Ray Law, the newest member of the city council, for putting on the hat of city councilor. To the rest of the council, thank you very much for your continued service to the citizens of Prineville. To the people behind the scenes of the city of Prineville, I want to thank the city manager, staff, and all the employees who make this operation successful. Without all of you doing the excellent jobs that you do, we would not be in the position we are today. Thank you. All right, Mr. Manager, are there any additions to the agenda?
There are no additions. However, I would like to note that we did have a counselor that wanted to make sure that we recognize the written comments on item 9 are connected to item 12, the impact of mitigation options. And we'll note that when we get to item 9.
Okay. Right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Has everybody had time to look through the consent agenda? And if so, if there's no questions or comment, entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I do have a comment, Jason.
Yes, sir.
Report or the reports during the last meeting that we had, I made the statement of serving on the Rough Tough Committee, and Lisa did an appropriate job writing out Rough Tough Committee. Unfortunately, Rough Tough is an acronym for the Road User Fee Task Force, or RUFTF, and we refer to it as Rough Tough. So my apologies for using an acronym for that system.
Right, Lisa, can we make that change and amend that?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilor Elfelman, for bringing that to our attention. So, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
And amended.
And amended.
Mr. Mayor, it's Councilman Papke. I move to approve the amended minutes, the amended consent agenda.
This is Steve Uffelman. I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the amended consent agenda. Is there any more further discussion?
Jason?
Hearing no further. Yes.
Jason, is this for the regular meeting of 12/8, the special meeting of 12/16, and the other meeting
Yes.
for 1/4?
Correct.
Correct. Everything that was listed in the consent agenda.
Okay, I cannot vote on the one for 12/16 because I was not there.
How do you handle that, Counselor?
She can merely abstain from voting. It's fine.
Even though she was with the other two?
Or should I do a separate one for each?
You can do either or,
Okay.
but we still have a motion on the table. We want that motion withdrawn, Councilor Papke.
I'll withdraw the second.
She can, according to Robert, she can absolutely abstain from all three, or we can move to divide the question or simply withdraw. But there's nothing against abstaining from voting on the motion. It just, if she feels, she's also, there's nothing in Roberts that says Janet, or was that Patricia or Janet? I'm sorry.
I think it was
Janet.
Janet.
It was Janet.
It was Janet. Okay. There is nothing in Roberts that says you cannot vote on a meeting you were not present at. It's perfectly acceptable. I typically will abstain just because I wasn't there, but there is nothing out of order with you voting on that.
And to echo that, there's no conflict in it either.
I'd ask for a second because you didn't get it withdrawn first.
Well, we still have a motion on the table, so
with second removed.
Second was withdrawn.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to make any changes, then I'll go ahead and second the motion as it's written, as it's presented.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the amended consent agenda. With no further discussion, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilor Appleman?
Aye.
Councilor Hutchison?
I'll abstain.
Councilor Youngman?
Aye.
Councilor Merritt?
Aye.
Councilor Papke?
Aye.
And Councilor Law?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. We will move on to visitors' appearance and request.
Do you need to vote? Make sure you
did
vote.
you vote?
Oh, aye, sorry, I didn't vote.
Yeah.
All right, now
Now we're good.
now the motion passed.
Yep.
So, all right, sorry for that, but visitors' appearance and request. Looks like we have Facebook community update. William Marks and Dr. Johnson. I don't know who's going first.
Either way is great. William, do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
I'll go first because I only will be less than a minute.
Okay.
Mayor, council members, thank you for inviting me to participate in this meeting. 2020 was a year we'll never forget. It was a year of challenges. It was a year of hardships. But it was also a year the community came together. And the entire team at Facebook could not be prouder to be a part of the Prineville community than we are right now. We came together to help students and teachers with Wi-Fi, laptops, robotics, and career and technical training. We came together to help nonprofits, help people with food and clothing when they needed it. We came together to help small businesses keep their doors open. And we came together to help support wildfire relief throughout the state of Oregon in partnership with Fortis Construction. But that was 2020, and I'm really excited for 2021. It's a new year, and it's going to be bigger and better than ever. We're already going to announce in the first quarter $210,000 in additional grants to local nonprofits. We're excited to expand the school district robotics program this spring. And I'm really excited for the 10-year anniversary of the data center's grand opening coming up in April. So thank you again. The entire team at Facebook is incredibly proud to be part of this community. Thank you. And it is great to be a part of this.
Thank you, William.
Tonight, I'm here just to back up what and provide some detail to what William has already told you. It has been a great privilege to serve this community in our schools in this past year. I think that because of our partnerships, our staff, and our school board, and the people who have really backed up the educational system, Cook County is and continues to be a model across the state of what can be done during a really tough period of time. I think that we have looked at what we can do and tried to find that opportunity and that forward moving action to try to create something for our kids in the community. And we couldn't have done it. We simply could not have done it without Facebook. So it's more than just about 2020, because certainly 2020 brought challenges, but I think it's important to note tonight the just ongoing, continuous, consistent support that Facebook has given to the children in the school system of this community. We went through our books just to find out if we could come up with a total, and it's not entirely accurate because I'm sure there's much in addition to what I'm going to report tonight. But what I could really take from our school district books, it was probably over $1.3 million to the children, the young people of this community. That adds value not just to the daily experiences of children, but this adds value to the whole system, and it goes on and on over time. As William mentioned, we received support for Wi-Fi across our county as a result of Facebook's generous contributions. And we were able to advance and go quickly to a one-to-one with our technology devices for children. That's phenomenal. Other school districts around the state were struggling to find ways to buy those technology devices, and our children already had them in their hands and they could already connect to Wi-Fi, and instruction was ongoing. Another thing that Facebook has done that has been super impactful in our community is the focus on career and technical education, the vocational opportunities and skill building tools that really set kids up for success, not just for potential careers, but with life skills. Today, I walked through a Paxton Patterson brand new lab that cost somewhere between $50,000 to $60,000 at our middle school. That was totally funded through Facebook grant. And it was amazing. As I was in that room, I saw a child taking a model dog and drawing blood and recording it as if they were a doctor. I saw a student working on a small motor. He was actually going through a process to take that apart and rebuild it. I saw children that were students who were working on nursing, and they were doing an experiment to show how disease is communicated, and they were putting their hands in a liquid, and then they would put the light on it and their hands would glow where they were impacted by the compound. So it was a beautiful room with beautiful tables, amazing equipment, very appealing. And I was just so happy. And when I walked out of there, I was told that is the only Paxton Patterson lab in a middle school in Oregon, not just in Central Oregon, but in Oregon. And that is being expanded across the district. Our students at Pioneer Alternative School, they have a lab now that is up and going. Paxton Patterson came in and set that up, and again, Facebook funded that. We are a model around the district for our coding and our robotics at the high school and also at the middle school. And every year, Facebook comes in and replenishes what the children have used and then puts the newest equipment in their hands. It's remarkable. And you would think that I was going out and advocating for Facebook to help us, but that's not how it works. William reaches out to us and he says, what can we do to support and continue what's going on in the schools? And our team comes together, we assess where we are, what's the next step, and then we talk to William, and William matches that to what the vision of Facebook is, and it is adding great value to the district. I wanted to add one more thing. Facebook has been promoting the opportunities for our children to see this diverse world and experience some things that they just couldn't experience in Crook County. Facebook has funded multiple author visits, and these are famous authors who have published books, and these books center around issues and complex demands that these children will have upon them as they grow up. And so not only have we had one author in our district already this year, but we have another one planned. And I was in a principal's office today, and he picked up a pile of books off of his desk to show me the art and the authors who are soon coming to Crook County. So I could go on and on. I know this meeting isn't about me and what the school district is doing, but I just want you to know that it's great and it's vast and it's ongoing, and it really makes a difference in the community. It makes our schools better. It adds value, and we could be a good school district without Facebook, but I'm not sure we could ever be a great school district without Facebook. So I embrace their support, and I just express my gratitude for their support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. And I know for one, speaking for myself, I definitely appreciate the partnership that Facebook's had with our community. And this is a great thing for us here, and we're pretty lucky. Would it be fitting to ask the council if they have any comments? Or?
Absolutely, sure.
Council, does anybody have any comments they'd like to make to Dr. Johnson or William?
Hey, this is Counselor Law. I'll just say, not shocked by all this amazing stuff. Great job, William. Thanks for everything you do for our school district. It is really appreciated. So keep up the great work, and we appreciate it.
Hey, this is Steve Uffelman. I want to reiterate what Ray just said, but also congratulate the school district on stepping up and being creative with the opportunity, taking advantage of the opportunity presented by Facebook to move these projects forward. So, Dr. Johnson, thank you very much for your work and your team's work.
I'd like to say something if you let me.
Thank you, Mayor.
So, Mayor, may I say a couple of words?
Please.
So, William mentioned that 10 years ago, we have a 10-year anniversary coming up, and a year or so before that was when we started our journey with Facebook. And I'd like to mention Eric Klon at this time, and also I see Jason Carr on the Zoom meeting tonight. And there's a whole bunch of people, a lot of collaboration between the county, the city, EDCO at the time with Jason as a director level for Crook County and Prineville. And I want to remind the council is because of their support, the county court support, we outclassed many other small communities, large communities, cities, and other states to win the citing of Facebook for this community and the benefits it's brought in terms of job opportunities and support for our community. So I just want to remind the council of having good leadership and foresight has paid off in a multiple of ways. So thank you, council. Thank you, Eric Klon. Thank you, Jason. It was a long time ago. It doesn't seem like it was 10 years, but it really was. So a lot of history there, and we're real proud, William, to be part of it, and we're glad you're on board.
All right. If there's no other discussion, thank you again for the presentations and the updates. We very much appreciate it. So we'll move on. So the written comments, I think City Manager Steve Forrester just had already discussed this at the beginning, that those written comments that were related to the COVID impact and mitigation options that are later in the agenda have all been documented and are part of our docket tonight and our agenda. So,
yeah, and I just add to that, Mayor Beebe, that we want to make sure that the folks that were responsible for putting that together and the folks that wrote those letters, they need to know that they were received, they were dispersed and presented to council and staff. They have been written, and to your point, Mayor, they are a matter of record at this point. Anything you'd add to that, Councilor?
No, all public comment is posted on the website. It's a part of the council agenda, and they're also part of the minutes.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
All right, we're gonna move on to council business. Item number 10, the committee council appointments. And I'm gonna apologize for this. I should have been on this a little bit earlier and gotten this out to the council to verify the appointments. So, a few last minute changes. So I guess, should I just go through these, or just council, should we go through individually, or just the ones that we're going to replace?
I would ask the council if they've had an opportunity to review the appointments as they've been presented, and then I would go through and highlight any changes that you were thinking about.
Okay, well, that sounds good. Any of the counselors, have you had a chance to review this? And
Mr. Mayor, I would ask, and I know I filled in, and I'm not speaking for Gail whatsoever. Please know that, Councilor Merritt. Just with my schedule and the meeting times for the Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council, that is really a struggle for me to attend. And I think it's important that as a city, we have representation. And I would respectfully request to be removed as the primary on that, and would welcome any volunteers to be the primary representative on that.
any volunteers from the council to be the primary?
This is Counselor Merritt. I don't have a problem going back to the primary and putting Jeff as the alternate.
Jeff, that would work for you?
Yes, that would be fine.
All right, we can make that change.
Okay.
So this is Counselor Merritt, and I have been on the Crook County Foundation for, seems like ever, 13 to 14 years, 10 years as a city councilor, and I'm just wondering if it's time for somebody else to step into that role.
Let's see. This meets monthly on the third Thursday, 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. Is that correct, Gail?
Correct.
Councilor Merritt?
Correct.
Okay.
I've been scholarship chairman for a long time too, and now I am getting a conflict of interest with my grandchildren getting ready to graduate.
Okay, would anybody from the council like to take that position on the Crook County Foundation?
This is Counselor Law. I'll take that one on.
Mayor, this is Steve Uffelman. The only council committee appointment sheet I have is the old one. It's from last year. It does not show this year's list. So I'm not sure where and when that was sent out for us to review.
Should be in his package, right?
Well, it was in our packet for this meeting. For review, for review and discussion.
But I believe it's last year's because it's still got Teresa on there.
It is.
Oh, yeah, it is last year, because I'm going to make some changes to that, and Counselor Law is going to be plugged into a few of those spots. But I wanted to go through and see if there was any changes that current counselors have on their current committee appointments, and we can discuss and change right now, and then we can vote on this.
Well, there are several that I would like to be relieved from. I see that I'm on the COCO committee. That's one of the reasons that I stepped aside as mayor. I just have committed to too many of these types of meetings and do not have the energy to continue to attend the numbers of meetings that are outlined in this. So.
As Counselor Uffelman, I think that's one I can take.
Yeah, I think if you just rolled right down through these, Jason, might be the best way. What do you think?
Yeah, that's, at this point, might as well.
So I'd go back to the top and ask air quality if that's okay the way it is.
Okay, well, let's,
It's already, yeah.
we'll just do that. We'll go up to the top, Air Quality Committee. We have Janet Hutchison. Actually, is our only council representative on that committee. Janet, are you comfortable with that committee?
I am, considering since I've been on it, we haven't had a meeting because due to COVID.
You're good there, you're good.
Good there, good on Central Oregon, or COIC committee.
Watershed?
Crooked River Watershed, I know I've struggled to get to this, but my schedule now permits me to do this. And I think all their meetings are virtual anyways now, Zoom meetings, so I'm good with that. Kirk County Foundation, Ray would like to step into that.
Okay.
I will take Councilor Elfelman's position on this COCO board. So we have Central Oregon Area Commission on Transportation, or COAC. Councilman Elfelman is our primary from the council. Teresa Rodriguez was on this board. So I've pretty much everywhere Teresa was, I've added Ray's name temporary unless someone else would like to take that. All right.
You want to ask Steve if he still wants to do it?
Oh, Steve, Councilor Elfelman?
I can continue on the COAC, yes.
Great, you're good.
Okay.
Yep.
Councilor Law, I'll add you in there as an alternate. And Crook County School District Facilities?
Actually, he's not an alternate. He's just another one, and then I'm the alternate.
Oh, okay.
That's fine, yep.
Crook County School District Facilities. Looks like Councilor Papke. And are you okay with that committee appointment? Okay.
Okay.
Deschutes Water Alliance is Councilor Elfelman and Councilor Elfelman as needed.
I would like to step aside from that.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, how often does that group meet? Or Eric, I'm not sure who can answer that.
Eric might be able to. I don't see it. It's not on, it just says as needed.
Yeah, those are a lot of meetings. And so I guess my question for maybe Mr. Forrester, is that something that we need to have a council member there?
I don't think so. I also want to confirm that with Mr. Elfelman. I think we're close enough with this, with COCO, with our representation on the Orchard Irrigation District Board, that we're probably okay, and we can certainly come back and if this gets going again. Steve, what are your thoughts?
Adam Sussman has done a great job intervening and on my behalf and covering that. So I would concur. I think COCO and leaning on Adam Sussman to communicate with us on that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. That sounds great.
Okay, so
just strike that committee.
I would just leave it on there with only Eric Klon.
Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay, economic development. Looks like we, Councilor Elfelman, you're on this board too.
Yes.
Would you like to continue?
I would like to not continue that because that interferes with a state committee that I'm on for the one of the governor's subcommittees on economic development.
Okay, for the rest of the council, this is monthly and the second Thursday of each month, 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. Is there anybody that would want that position? Nobody?
I wish I could, Mr. Mayor, but unfortunately with my work schedule, I just would be unable to attend.
I would say I could fill in until.
That's a regular meeting that I do attend, and if I could get a commitment from you, Mr. Mayor, to attend as needed, that'd be great. When you can, that would work.
I should be able to do that. That
Okay.
shouldn't be a problem. All right, the Habitat Conservation Plan, this is as needed. Have myself and Councilor Elfelman, and I don't know that I've ever been to one of these meetings.
Are we still working on that in as much as we have the HCP approved?
It is approved. We'll be working on implementation, but I think, Steve, we could just have Jason and Eric on there. We'd be fine. Eric, would you concur?
Yeah, that's wrapping up, and we can just let council know what shakes out.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
All right, Kirk County Human Services Committee, and that's Janet Hutchison. Janet, are you comfortable with that committee?
Yes, I haven't attended one of these either, but I'm okay with it.
Okay. Let's see. Finance Committee, is that what you have next?
Yes.
Finance Committee. We have Janet Hutchison, Steve Uffleman, Gail Merritt. Would you, the councilors, like to stay on that committee, or is there anybody that would like to come off?
This is Janet, I'll stay on it.
If someone else would like to be on it, that would be fine. I'd be glad to step aside, but I can do it if no one else wants it.
And I can stay also, unless somebody else really wants it.
I consider that the most exciting committee of all.
Take you a while to figure it out.
Great, you're good. Move on. Yeah.
So is Steve Uffleman will stay on
They
it?
all agreed, yes.
Unless you want to do it.
Unless you want to do it, yeah.
Ugh.
If you want to do it, that's fine. Steve gave you an opening.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay.
Councilor Uffleman, I'd like to sit on that committee, if that's okay.
That's fine. I will step aside. Thank you.
All right, Public Works Committee, which is myself and Janet Hutchison. Janet, are you comfortable with that committee still?
I am, yes.
All right, Public Safety Funding Committee, which looks like Patricia and Steve Uffleman and Gail Merritt.
I like it. I'll stay. That's Patricia.
I'd like to stay also.
I'll stay on that one.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the Transportation Committee, we had Teresa Rodriguez, or Teresa Rumble, was on this. Counselor Law, I put your name in here unless another counselor would like to have that committee appointment. And I'm not sure if they've met in quite a while.
Yeah. Okay, you're good.
Good on that one. Are we going to take this one up in the Railroad Advisory Committee? That's a different.
No, we need to take this one up. Yep.
So these are two separate?
Well, they're the same, but this is the council representation on that committee.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, that's right. So Railroad Advisory Committee, we have Councilor Uffleman.
I would like to be on that, please.
Okay, perfect. So that one's good. Local Intergovernmental Committee, we have Councilor Uffleman on this one too.
That
I would
needs to be
just
you, Mike.
step aside if I could.
Okay, I'll take that committee appointment if that's okay with the rest of the council. All right, the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, we have Jeff Babke.
Such a fitting committee for Eric and I to sit on. We've never met, and I know I see Steve and Emily up there. So I don't know if this is even a committee that needs to be around or what its purpose, or if this is now being picked up by our new waste disposal company.
Mr. Papke, Councilor Papke, it is a necessary committee in that we'll continue to review the annual statement and the franchise calculation.
That facilitated should be amended though to Republic.
Yes.
Yes, correct.
I'd be happy. So I have actually, I never realized that was that group. But yes, I have met. Make sure we've got our poop in a group.
The Chamber of Commerce Board. I talked to.
Don't forget downtown revitalization.
Oh, I skipped one. Sorry about that. Downtown Revitalization Committee. We have Patricia Youngman.
Yep, I'm perfectly happy. We haven't met yet, though.
Okay, perfect. Chamber of Commerce Board. I've talked to Patricia on this and Councilor Law, and I'm going to place Councilor Law there. And Barnes Butte Focus Committee, which is Gail Merritt, myself, and Janet Hutchinson. I like that committee, even though we haven't met in a while. Councilor Merritt and Councilor Hutchinson, would you like to stay on that?
I definitely want to stay on that committee.
I do as well.
Perfect. That one's good. The Franchise Fee Committee. Teresa was also on this one. If there's nobody on the council that would like it, I've added Councilor Law's name to that too. All right. Neighbor Impact. Patricia, would you like to stay on this committee?
Oh, you betcha. I love them.
Thank you. Tom McCall, Roundabout Feature Design Art.
Is this committee still?
Yeah, Eric, was this something we need to continue with, sir?
Nope, we can be done with that one.
Yeah.
All right. Remove.
It's in the plaza.
Okay. Council Governance Committee. This is Patricia Youngman, myself, and Councilor Papke. Councilor Papke, would you like to?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Okay. And Patricia?
Yes, please.
All right. We're good on that one. County Natural Resource Committee. This is another one Teresa was on, and also Councilor Hutchison. So, Councilor Hutchison, would you like to stay on that committee?
Actually, Jason, I wasn't on that. I was on the Ocho Forest Restoration Collaborative, which is the last one. And I would like to stay on that one.
Okay, so that one's good.
So you need a natural resource person.
So natural resource. Councilor Law, I put your name in here, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with the committee. And I'm going to keep your name in here unless another council member would like to sit on that committee. All right, sounds like
You got it.
that should be it.
Yep.
So should we vote on these tonight? Do we vote on this to approve these?
Yeah, so how the charter is laid out is that the mayor appoints with the consent of council. So I would call for a motion to accept the appointments as been amended here tonight. If anyone wants to make the motion in second, you can move forward. And the motion would be consenting to the appointments made by the mayor.
So do we have a motion to approve the appointments made by myself tonight?
This is Patricia. I'll make that motion to approve the appointments tonight as amended.
This is Councilor Hutchison. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the committee appointments. And I'll just do a roll call vote, or do I need to do?
You need to do a roll call vote.
Okay, do a roll call vote. Councilor Uppelman?
Aye.
Councilor Hutchison?
Aye.
Councilor Youngman?
Aye.
Councilor Merritt?
Aye.
Councilor Papke?
Aye.
Counselor Law,
Aye.
and the mayor votes aye. So it passes. All right, we probably get an updated version of this out by the next council meeting.
Yeah, at least we'll have it out.
All right. So next we have the Railroad Committee appointments. And so looking, correct me if I'm wrong, council, if I just make these appointments, correct?
I believe Matt Wiederholt may be presenting on that.
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
There's also a staff report.
Can you hear me tonight, Mayor?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm on the phone here. So for the record, it's Matt Wiederholt, City of Prineville Railway Manager. Exactly right. You need to make the recommendation for the Railroad Committee. But coming from the City of Prineville Railway Manager, we have some recommendations for you. Just a quick background, Resolution 1251 is what the resolution that outlines our committee, and the committee is an advisory committee for you and the council. 1251 states that we meet quarterly, typically around the finance report with the finance department. The advisory committee from 1251, the advisory committee shall consist of not more than 7 members. The only member on the advisory committee that is not appointed is the city manager. So the other 6 would need appointment from you or be appointed from you. We need 1 representative of the railway, which currently is myself, 1 city council member, but it sounds like you appointed Councilor Steve Uffelman and number 10 there at council business. We need 3 citizens, and it states citizens of Crook County, not the city of Prineville, but Crook County. And then Resolution 1251 also states that we have a user of rail, or one of our rail users on the committee. So the committee is appointed by the mayor, like I said, and the members serve 2 years. And so currently all of the committee members are up. We've had conversations with every member that's on here, and they would all like to continue their service with the Railroad Committee. So real quick, like we said, Steve Uppelman for councilor has been approved. Second would be Mike Irvin. He's been there since 2006, and he seeks the citizens nomination. Larry Gerke, he's been there 4 years. Jerry Evans is a local CPA, and he's been with us since the early 90s. He seeks a citizen position. And then the newest member is Dustin Wilson. He would represent our rail users. Dustin's with a newer company on the railway, McCall Oil. We brought Dustin in and met the committee. He sat down and he seems to be a good fit. He comes with a lot of background. So we would recommend Dustin Wilson as our rail user, and then of course myself. The resolution 1251 doesn't state the general manager; it states anybody representing the railroad. So I would be nominated by yourself. So with that said, we look at your nomination for these 6 members. Well, 5 after Councilor Upperman.
Matt, this is Janet. Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
So why is it the other people are just within the county and not city? I know you said that was in the resolution. I guess I'm wondering why it's that way.
That is, so the resolution 1251 was passed in February of 2015 by Betty Ropey, and at that time, that's what the council and the mayor put in the resolution. I mean, I'm certainly in the future, if we wanted to look at that we could, but it specifically says members of the citizens of the county, Crook County. So
I would believe that would encompass everybody, though, including city residents, correct?
It would.
So,
I'd like to jump in here. One of the reasons for that is some of the rail users and other people who are involved with the activity at the railroad are outside the city limits, and but they are very instrumental in the operation and activities of the business of the railroad. So that was the reason for broadening the the range to include all of Crook County.
Thanks. That helps explain it.
One other just quick point, 1251 replaced the original resolution of 861. The original resolution didn't have any citizen members at all. They were specific to finance and rail shippers, and we felt like having a group of rail shippers controlling the city railway committee probably didn't have the best interest of all the citizens, being that it's a citizen-owned railway as well. So 1251, when they went through this in 2015, broadened it quite a bit.
All right, is there any further discussion? Council, you might have to guide me a little bit on this. Can I?
At this point, you would appoint the council members as presented by Mr. Wiederholt?
Committee members.
The committee members, excuse me, for a 2-year term.
Member, yeah.
All right, well.
The committee appointments for the term beginning today and ending on January 12th, 2023.
Well, I will appoint the following to a 2-year term expiring January 12th, 2023. Mike Urban, Citizen 1, Larry Gerke, Citizen 2, Jerry Evans, Citizen 3, Dustin Wilson, McCall Oil, and Matt Wiederholt, our City of Prineville Railway representative. Huh? Thank you, Matt. All right, moving on to next item, which is the COVID-19 impact mitigation options. And I have a brief statement before we start this. It's our next agenda item, which is the COVID-19 impact mitigation options. Last week, we engaged in an executive session with our city attorney to discuss legal options regarding COVID-19 and any type of strategies that may be available to us as a council to provide some type of relief to our struggling businesses. It was apparent from the discussion that additional information was needed, and therefore we asked our city manager, Steve Forrester, to assemble a panel for us tonight. That panel consists of Crook County Health and Human Services Director, Mariel De Laverne Brown, Prineville Chamber of Commerce Director, Kim Daniels, and Crook County EDCO Representative, Kelsey Lucas. All of who are here tonight to provide information and to answer questions of council. As you all remember, one option that may be available to council is a resolution similar to what was passed in Josephine and Yamhill counties. In particular, that resolution would require us to find that when persons, entities, or businesses are operating under OSHA rules and guidelines known as the temporary Oregon OSHA COVID-19 rule, they are engaging in good faith and effort to comply with relative state and local laws and rules. And that such efforts can constitute reasonable precautions to minimize COVID-19 spread, regardless of whether such precautions are consistent with executive orders. I also want to discuss the possibility of sending Governor Brown a letter. After the panel has had an opportunity to present and the council has had an opportunity to ask questions, we will then discuss whether we wish to have our attorney prepare a resolution for consideration or have a letter prepared for consideration. And with that, I would like to ask our city manager to introduce our panel.
Thank you, Mayor Beebe. Appreciate it. With us tonight, as you mentioned, we have Mariel with the Crook County Health Department. She is the director, and Kim Daniels from our chamber, and Kelsey Lucas from our local EDCO office as the manager. And at this time, I'd like to start with Mariel. She has provided an enormous amount of information for us to digest. She's been a regular here at city council meetings throughout the COVID pandemic, and we really appreciate all that she's doing for us. And with that, I'd like to just ask Mariel to walk us through the highlights of the information and give us an update on COVID that affects the Crook County area.
I will do that. So Mayor and councilors, thank you very much. I would also especially like to thank Patricia, who helped us with our flu clinic. And the pictures on the front of this document I sent you, at the one point bottom and the one in the bottom on the left-hand side, it shows the beautiful new tent that we had gotten, and then the wind came up. So we all had stories of holding on to the edge of that tent while it was trying to blow away, and we were trying to do a flu clinic, but almost 200 vaccines that day. It was a really good, we're kind of used to doing drive-through clinics, but it was a good practice for what we have coming in the future. So I'm not going to go through every one of these graphs because I would take forever, but what I will do is go through some of the questions that you had asked me. So one of them was my staff, and I thank them for putting this together. And you know, they really wanted to kind of show a report of what's happened this past year, and I think that's really helpful. The questions you specifically asked me were really, where are we at on cases? Well, yesterday we had 530. We had 19 new cases today. So the staff was working pretty hard to follow up on those 19 cases. We also had one death, but I would say that compared to other counties, we've actually done pretty well. Our staff has worked really, really hard to keep people, you know, if they're on isolation, remind them why it's important so they're not infecting other people. And I think compared to similar sized counties, we've done, you know, my staff has done an amazing job just keeping people healthy and trying to do as much as we can to keep cases down. There was a question asked about active cases. Active cases are always kind of hard. The definition at the state level, they're not even really using it very much anymore, but they're saying it's active and they say it from 90 days out. What we kind of use a different definition. For us, it's how many people are actually on isolation. And then once they're off isolation, we sort of, that's considered they're really not active anymore in our system. So that's how we use that. There was a question about presumptive, and in reality, in the 500 cases we have in Cook County, we only have 60 some that are presumptive. Most of the time when that happens, it's because somebody's in the same household and they don't necessarily go get tested, but it's a child, it's it's a husband or wife. They end up getting sick. They don't get tested, but they have the same symptoms. And so that's what we call presumptive. So that was one of the things that came up, but we really don't have that many. In general, most of the people get tested. The presumptive cases, there was a question about, is it automatically put on presumptive? It's mostly because those cases really have been in the household and they're usually sick. So the other thing about presumptive that's important, there is a specific definition for that. They've got symptoms. So you don't just guess that they're presumptive. It really is about, do they present with the same symptoms, the person who is positive. So the other questions really had to do on the estimation of the number of cases. So the one thing I do want to mention is that sometimes there's been a lot of comments about not getting tested. The less people are tested, the higher our positivity rate. So, I mean, it's just simple math. So if more people get tested and not as many of them are positive, our positivity rate actually goes down. But if the only people getting tested are sick, then the rate's going to be up. So I know there was a testing clinic actually in Redmond on Saturday, and it was put on by one of the clinics. They did 300 tests, and actually 56 people were positive out of that, which is pretty high. So I don't know if a lot of people went that are already symptomatic. I don't know anything about that clinic, but that was a little bit what's happening with that. So we encourage people to get tested because the more we have it, will actually drop the positivity. So people also asked about influenza. It's really been interesting across the country, not only the US, but also around the world. So if you look at Australia that already had their season, they actually had very, very low rates of influenza. So part of it is social distancing, part of it is wearing masks. The other thing is that when the tests are done now, especially with St. Charles, they're actually testing for both at the same time. So we do have that ability to know whether it's COVID or whether it's influenza. We do have, before COVID happened, we had regional epidemiologists that would do a flu report, but we're just not seeing a lot of influenza this year. So I think the other thing I wanted to kind of put on here is what our role's been. I'm not going to go through all those things, but there's been a ton of things that the health department's continued to do during this time. We've worked with Kim a bunch, providing PPE and doing as much as we can. We worked with Facebook and others. It was actually Vicki Ryan that organized the food, kind of the whole food drive-through with tons of volunteers. And I think part of it is we have ended up bringing on some more staff just because we've been really overwhelmed with the number of cases. And we have staff working on weekends, basically following up on cases. And then we also are doing, the one thing I don't think people realize is we have some community-based organizations that are doing kind of wraparound services. So there's actually been, they were funded through the state also. There have been thousands of dollars worth of services bought for individuals that are on isolation. So if they're on isolation, we have paid for utilities, we have paid for hotel, we have paid for food, we have paid for a ton of things. One of the community-based organizations that helps just sent me their December amount that the state will reimburse them, and it was about $9,000 worth of just services they provided for individuals who are on isolation. So one of the things we do, we don't just say you're on isolation, good luck. It's you're on isolation and how can we help you? So, whether it's paying for things. I remember one of our initial cases, we helped with utilities and other things. So they just weren't so stressed. So I think those kinds of things, people don't always realize that's part of what the job is doing this, but that's part of what we've done. And then we have a lot of PPE, so we're providing that. So probably the really good news is vaccines are here, not a lot. So somebody emailed me today and asked the question, why aren't we having big clinics? I get 100 doses a week right now. So we have, when we get 100 doses, we've given 100 doses. We're following the guidelines and doing that. And so we, as of today, had given 300. We also have St. Charles, who's doing they did the providers, they did their group. We did do EMS and first responders in Crook County. So that group, we tried to take care of like first thing when we got vaccine. So the couple of things that have changed from the document I gave you is that as of today, if you saw the news release, CDC had a really big announcement and they said, we didn't really put out the guidelines. They didn't roll out the way we meant them to be. So probably as of the 23rd, the governor sent a press release. It's 65 and older and individuals with high-risk medical conditions. Now, it also says on the press release, please don't call your health department immediately because we don't have vaccine. So it's, we will do some pods. We're already working with the school district. We had already planned some things with them. So Mosaic Medical is signed up to be a provider. St. Charles is working on becoming a provider in their clinic. I've talked to Patricia and we're hoping pharmacies will sign up. So we have numerous places for people to go. We do know that all the Walgreens, I know they're in Redmond and other places, they are providers and have signed up. And then some of the clinics in Redmond have signed up. So we will get information out as soon as we find out that there's more vaccine coming out. But according to the federal government today, they're going to be sending out a whole lot more. So that's where we are with that. And the vaccine, I will say for my staff, it's been great having people come in and get their vaccines because people are really excited and they're extremely grateful to be able to get the vaccine. So that's been a really bright spot this last 2 weeks. So questions for me?
Well, Mariel, if you don't mind, I'd like to just continue with the presentations and then open it up for questions at the end of that. So hang tight and Kim.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Oh, I said that was quick, but
yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have lots of questions. So, Kim Daniels, can you give us a quick update on the Chamber's perspective and what you're seeing out there, please? Oh, you're on mute.
And I'm there. I'm here. Hold on. So questions from. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, but there's a big echo for us. I don't know if that's
we got
similar
it
to
fixed on
everybody
our
else.
end. Is it better? Awesome.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
So I would say the main thing on our end is, yeah, I work mainly with the businesses. And we do, of course, have a lot of community input as well. But from the business standpoint, their main thing is they want to be doing what they can do. They want to be safe. They want to be following the rules. And a lot of them have been following the mandates and the regulations. And so it's kind of right now like getting all the support that they can get from the community. So the number one thing that I'm hearing is we just need support. We need resources. We need people. We need money. And so that's what our role has been, to provide all of the different grants, funds, PPE and the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, to get those to our businesses as quickly as we can and get them all the resources we can. So we have, of course, been very active in the grant program, along with EDCO and COIC and the county. We've been very active in getting any type of grants we can find, not just through the state, not just through the nation, but anything that comes up. So our businesses are really just looking for support right now. So on top of providing funds and opportunities for funds, I think the main thing is, as a community, we have to remember to shop local. We have to remember when we can eat out to eat out, and we've just got to give them what we can give them, and do it safely. Like there's so much controversy out there, and we aren't going to get involved in it, but like, do it safely, wear your mask, wash your hands, and go do what you can do locally as much as you can, because that's our role. That's what we need to be doing for our businesses, and supporting them and not judging them for what they choose to do. So, I mean, honestly, that's kind of where we are right now. It's this big swirl. And on top of all of that, you have, honestly, kind of the mental health that goes along with that. Like, people are exhausted right now, and they're tired of fighting, and they're tired of like making sure they're doing things the right way, and they're just tired. So I don't know what else to say, but it's like, it is a big thing. But I think the number one thing is support every business and support every organization the way that they need it, instead of doing what you think is right, and instead of because it's hard. It's hard for everyone right now. So whatever they need, do it in the best way you can. So.
Thank you, Kim, and we'll move on to Kelsey. Get us an update on some of the programs, and don't be bashful about collaborating with Kim on the most recent opportunities for our local businesses, if you don't mind. Thank you. I think you're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, so for traded sector, they've been a lot less impacted than some of the service sector businesses and commercial businesses downtown. Manufacturing, for the most part, hasn't really been impacted at all as far as operating and sales go. I feel like the biggest challenge for businesses that I work with has just been inventory planning, supply chain, delays for equipment coming in, especially for some of the new companies to the area. They were delayed months just because they couldn't get up and running for those reasons. Financially, it's still difficult because there are new costs that businesses didn't have before, like PPE, some air filtration systems, plexiglass, things like that just add up after a while, and just making sure that there's proper spacing. And then the other issue that I've heard come up a lot is paid sick leave. So people that are being exposed, or family members that are being exposed, they're having to stay home, and employers are still having to pay, but they're losing that productivity due to people not being on site. Then there's also the technological costs that go along with working from home. A lot of people have had to get Zoom and stuff like outside of the manufacturing sector, so some tech companies and stuff. And for EDCO, we've actually had a record quarter for projects. We've had 18 new projects in the region for quarter 4 for 2020, which is way better than last year and way better than previous quarters for this year. So obviously projects take time. So some that got pushed back got moved to this quarter, but traded sector is doing well. It's just the service related companies that kind of support, because there are some companies that support that sector within traded sector that are struggling just because events can't happen. But overall, we're in pretty good shape on that side.
Thank you, Kelsey. And could Kim, you and Kelsey talk about the most recent announcements in terms of financial help for businesses? I know we were kind of the first out of the box, great success with our local effort in the very beginning. And then we had, of course, BP and the CARES Act and such. But what's happened recently? What can we share with the council and the community tonight on what we see in the future?
I'm going to let Kelsey speak to that. Echo.
Okay, so for this 4th round of funding for Kirk County, we awarded a total of 131 grants. So this was through COIC administered the grant, but then the chamber was the fiscal agent again and kind of worked in partnership with them. And obviously the funding came from the county. And then we had a local committee that scored all the grant applications. So 85% of total applicants were awarded. Pretty much everyone that qualified in Kirk County received some sort of grant. And the distribution for that, there were 50 LLCs, 44 sole proprietors, 29 corporations, and 8 nonprofits. So it was kind of spread across the board. The grant amounts ranged from $2,500 to $16,381. So a lot of the higher end were the service sector businesses like restaurants and gyms that have had to shut down and aren't making money but still have the same costs. There were a few exceptions. So some people more on the sole proprietor side asked for less than the $2,500, but we were able to kind of spread it out across everyone that qualified. And the awards were calculated using a scoring matrix kind of similar to the last rounds. So the county, chamber, and COIC kind of worked on that. And then state requirements related to closure. So those that were forced to close received a higher amount of points. They had to have at least a 25% decrease in sales. And then we did check registrations with the state and tax status and things like that too. So the total amount for all the grants awarded for the 4th round was $703,670. And then services were hit the hardest, like I mentioned, and kind of a distribution of some of the different service industries that received grants. There were 21 restaurants, 3 gyms or fitness related businesses, 5 event related businesses, 29 personal services. So that's like salon, massage therapy, things like that. 3 childcare, and then 7 travel and leisure, so hotels and things like that. And then for all 4 rounds of grant funding, $891,854 were distributed. So we're close to $900,000 for Kirk County, which is pretty amazing that everyone kind of gathered together right off the bat back in April, and we've been able to continually get funds out to businesses. And that funding has come from a ton of local support. So the first round was the city, county, chamber, downtown association, and then state and federal funds kind of went towards the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounds through the CARES Act funding. And Facebook's data center in Prineville was a huge contributor to the first round. They put most of the money in that pot. So it's definitely been a team effort, and everyone's kind of gathered together to make sure everything was efficient. The chamber managed to get out funding within less than a month for this past round. All checks had to be cut by the end of the year, and they've pretty much all been distributed already. So good job, Kim.
Yeah, and I can say really quickly, I believe we have all but 2 checks out at this point. But it is, I mean, comparing ourselves to other cities and other counties, just because I have a little bit of a pulse on it, and I can compare ourselves to Bend, which I don't want to compare us to Bend, but I'm going to, is when Kelsey and I looked at what the Bend grants gave to their businesses versus what we gave. It was a much higher average amount per business, which is awesome, because hopefully we can keep them going. So it's been a very fruitful process and very awesome to be a part of. So, but we're continuing. So just because this grant round is over does not mean that we're not still looking. There are still things that are opening up. Like I said, the PPP, and there's other programs, and we're also keeping our pulse on any other grants. There's a few grants that opened up this week that I have sent off to several businesses that seem to be a fit of. So if there's any business out there or any organization that is still in need, just hit either Kelsey or I up, and we can do what we can. We'll find what we can, because there's still stuff out there. There's still funds. So.
Do right now. Let him ask.
All right, well, thank you for that. Counselors, does anybody on the council have questions?
For either or all.
For any or either or all?
I have a question for Muriel. Muriel, you referenced pharmacies having the vaccine to administer later on. My concern is because of the limitation once a vial is opened and the multi-dose vials, the numbers of doses to be given, is there a risk that they will not be able to utilize all of the doses that are in a vial when they open it up in a retail setting rather than having more of a clinic type operation going? And that's
I think, I mean, there is, yeah, I mean, you being a pharmacist, I mean, I think the challenge is so for understand, there's 10 doses per vial. We're using Moderna. It comes frozen. We can keep it in the freezer for a while, but then once you put it in the refrigerator, it stays for a certain amount of time. But once you pop the top, you have to give that those 10 doses. Sometimes you can get 11 doses out of it, but you have to give the 10 doses within 6 hours. So the logistics of this are crazy because we have to schedule in blocks of 10. So I do understand that, Steve. I think the bigger, some of the pharmacies are doing that, but I think that is a logistical issue. It's probably not realistic for a pharmacy to use. Pfizer is that really low, the really, really cold. It has to be, I mean, we can't use Pfizer because first of all, it comes in 975 basically amounts, and we can get 100 doses, but it's 975 doses, and that's much for us, but it comes in a really cold system. So we'll probably continue using Moderna, but yeah, I'm not going to gloss over how challenging the logistics are for this vaccine. So
with me, we just learned today that Rite Aid plans on having a actual scheduling. So people will call in, it's going to be computerized. People could go online, schedule their time, and we'll be able to figure out how many are coming in, how many to unthaw.
Oh, perfect.
Along with if there's a need for other pharmacists to come in coverage if we have that many people that are needing to be vaccinated.
I think the other thing about this vaccine we have to do is everyone for the standing orders for this, you're required to have them sit for 15 minutes and watch them to make sure there's not a reaction. So the logistics of that, it's not like a flu clinic where everybody drives through and you give them the shot and they leave. You actually have to keep them around for 15 minutes to make sure there's not any kind of reaction.
Yes, but when there is a reaction, are the retail pharmacies set up for an anaphylactic response? Or for
yes, we are.
I would assume so, yeah.
Okay. So. Patricia, thank you. I appreciate your jumping in on that.
Muriel, I have a quick question. From your information and as you're our expert.
Yeah.
Concern.
I have a lot of experts in my office. But yeah.
Well, I know they're and I say this. I know you're not a medical doctor, but I know you're very well educated and up to date on this stuff. I guess from your knowledge, are there, as we look at, and I'm not so much thinking the 65 and older, but being in the educator world, there's a lot of conversations happening even above and beyond what the news is covering about the vaccine and getting teachers. And a lot of that is, it's not just from the people that want the vaccine, but there's also those people that are concerned about getting it because of some of the stories. Are there, I guess, are there any real concerns, or are there certain pieces of the population or demographics that there could be some red flags as we're starting to roll this out?
You mean as far as people not wanting to get vaccinated, or what do you mean?
Well, people who should be concerned about getting vaccinated because of negative effects.
Right now, we have people fill out a questionnaire, and what we're more concerned about is if somebody has had a strong reaction, has really strong allergies, strong reaction to a shot before. That's the things we're looking for. There's really not other types of things that are an issue. It's more that. So I think, the people get concerned about this vaccine, but you have to understand vaccines typically take a long time because there's not as much money thrown at them to create what has been created. There was huge resources thrown at both of these, or all of these companies, to do this. Pfizer tested on, I think it was about 45,000 people. Moderna tested on 30,000 people. I think, and the reaction, well, first of all, it's about 95%, effective. And then the reactions to it were not, it's, sore arm. There was some reactions to it as far as the people that had allergies. But personally, we've been giving it for the last 3 weeks. I feel like it's a pretty safe vaccine. So I think on that part, we've been trying to tell people that it's, if they, it's a person's choice to get the vaccine. It is, it's not mandatory. It's not anything like that. But at the same time, it does, will protect people. And so we just let people know what we're doing right now is we're, that first 1A group, we're actually calling out to different groups, and we're having them, whoever from that group that wants a vaccine basically calls and schedules. And then for some groups, we're getting names, then we're calling them back, but it's still choice. So that's kind of what's going on.
And just a quick follow-up on that. So we get the vaccine now, and was it 21 days for dose 2?
It's actually 28 for Moderna. Mm-hmm. So what we're doing at the department, I kind of laughed because one of my friends in another health department, they said, well, how are you sending reminders? What are you doing? And I said, well, no, we're scheduling them for their next shot when they're in the department. That's kind of a no-brainer, like schedule it for the next one. So we give everybody a card that they've had their first one. We'll probably do some reminder calls, but we have found how typically you have kind of a no-show rate in medical offices. That's not really happening. People that are signing up want to get the vaccine. So they're coming in.
Thank you.
Muriel,
I have,
sure.
Sorry, I have a couple questions, probably more around business related, but one question is, when employers engage in the procedures outlined in the OSHA rules, are they minimizing the virus's spread to their employees and customers?
Okay, ask that one more time.
When employers engage in the procedures outlined in the OSHA rules,
okay.
Are they minimizing the virus spread?
Well, yeah. If it's sort of the difference between people, some of the cases we've seen, it's because people have not been wearing masks, or that, social gatherings are still pretty high. And I know you'd asked about businesses. The businesses you had asked about, there haven't been a huge number, but at the same time, it's hard to even gauge that because there were closures. So, but at the same time, we didn't have a lot of cases in those areas. that we saw in Crook County. Right at the beginning we did, but then it kind of dropped off some. So when businesses are following things, it does definitely help.
All right, well, thank you.
Anyone else have any?
Does anybody else have any questions for either of them?
Mariel, this is Janet. I do have a question for you. Hi. So, on some of the comments that we received from the public that's in our package tonight, it seems like some of those are thinking that the virus is not as bad as what it is, or that the media is just making it worse than what it is. So I would like you to give your opinion about the virus and what you might say to those individuals if they spoke to you about it, so you could tell the council how you feel.
I think part of it is we talk to people that are sick. My staff interview people that are sick. And, when people talk about it's the worst thing I've ever had and they can't breathe. And, we've had a fair number of people hospitalized. You kind of do have to look at what's happening across the country. The hospitals are really having a hard time. And that's, even St. Charles has quite a few patients right now. And I think there were 5 on vents. So it is real. It does, I know some people personally who have had it. It really does. It scares people because they feel like they can't breathe. The ones that have bad symptoms. Now, yes, there are people that don't have a lot of symptoms. So there's a mix, but it kind of depends on the kind of what kind of underlying things that person has. But, it's sort of like, as a nurse, being a nurse, it's like when you talk to somebody who's talking about how hard it is for them, and they're scared. So it's not a lot of fun for a lot of people to have this. And I think it's real and it's causing a lot of pain for people in the community.
Thank you. So you mentioned St. Charles too. So are they getting close to being at maximum capacity in the ICU with COVID patients?
I didn't look at their numbers today. I do not believe so right now. They're doing okay, but I think as a region 7, what I will do after this meeting, because I just didn't pull up that data, I actually get a report once a week that shows for region 7 how the hospitals are doing. And I could actually send that next report to Steve so he could send it out to the council. It's pretty telling sometimes because it talks about like how many beds are available and that type of thing. But I just didn't bring that report tonight. And I'm so busy working to, one of the things we're doing in the department is I'm reaching out to all the groups to get them in for vaccine, and my staff is giving vaccine. So we're sort of all in this craziness, and with the changes today, we have plans in place to do the school district. So we're working with them right now, and that's in the planning stages. But we're hoping that will come up before the end of January.
Thank you. You also mentioned about the drive-through clinic in Redmond. So if people like from Crook County went over there and was tested and they came and the results were positive, then does that become a Deschutes County?
No, it's county of wherever your residence is. So what ends up happening is if it gets reported to Deschutes County, we had this happen actually last week. If it gets reported to Deschutes County, they'll move it to us. If they get the address and realize it's not a Deschutes County case, that happens a fair amount around the state. So it kind of doesn't matter where you get tested. It's still county of residence.
Thank you.
Is there any further questions from the council?
Mariel,
All right,
I have one. This is Patricia. I was noticing on the graphs, And in Crook County, there's like 30.5% of sporadic outbreaks. Could you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so a couple reasons that happens. We want to keep that low because that's one of the metrics the state looks at as to whether you're kind of open, even though they're mostly counting on cases right now. But couple reasons that happen. One is there's some people that when you talk to them, they just don't know where they got it. So that would be considered sporadic. So the more sporadic cases, they consider more community spread. The second thing that happens is not everybody calls us back, which can affect metrics, because we always encourage people, like, please tell people to call us, because then we can mark the box that says, where they think they got it. And so those are the main reasons, is lack of contact, or they don't know where they got it.
Thank you.
Carol, I have one more question. You mentioned a little bit about the school district. Last word I got is, with Crook County, even though they are seeing students face to face in a limited capacity, to my knowledge, I haven't heard of any outbreaks due to that. Is that still true, or do you know?
So we have had cases. I mean, we have had cases, but what we haven't had is person-to-person spread in the school. So what ends up happening is we're working really closely with the school nurses. We're working really closely. I mean, we have been kind of hand in hand with school district the whole time and working really closely with them. So if anything comes up, whether we get a case or something happens at school, they contact us immediately. We work with the school nurses. And if we have to isolate a group of people, we do. But, we're like one of the bigger, I think we are like the largest school district in the state that actually was open. And we kind of got in under that, like all the cases blew up after school started. We were in the kind of safe harbor. So we worked really hard with the state to keep the schools open, and we have been really successful. We meet with them weekly, and we're working with them now on a vaccine plan. So I think compared to when I talk to my peers throughout the rest of the state, our relationship with the school district here has been amazing. And it's just really helped, I think, keep the schools open because of all the work we're always doing. So.
Thank you.
I think City Manager Steve Forrester had a comment.
Is there any other questions from council?
Okay. Are there any other questions from council first before we move into that?
So thank you, Mayor Beebe. So I wanted to share the council with a note I received from Brian Iverson. I did have a conversation with Brian Iverson, who has presented at council before, was instrumental in our local COVID relief plan that we kicked off back in 2020, and obviously has been facilitator for the Downtown Association for Prineville. So here is what he said today. The Prineville Downtown Association has been devastated by business closures. We have literally lost for good many companies that will never come back. That list will continue to grow every week. We project our ability to just get businesses back up to where they were pre-COVID will take years to build it back. Closed businesses include Club Pioneer, Horseshoe, Crooked River, Ochiko Brewery, Dad's, Pine Theater, Miller Lumber, Crossroads, Barney Prines, Senior Center, and more. Senior social clubs, vets, Eagles, Elks, and all of the businesses that are operating in a reduced ability or takeout with lower operating hours. Oregon Main Street has also been on our side trying to keep open the heart of the communities, downtowns. They're helping in by pushing out grant opportunities and other federal state opportunities. But these are thin, too little, and too late, and the dollars that ultimately a grant cannot replace the closures that they have experienced. Do not think that we are an island in Prineville. Senators, representatives, councilors, mayors, and commissioners from all over the state are pushing, prodding, and in some cases demanding the governor to open businesses. Prineville City Council can proclaim their desire to support their small businesses and provide one more pressure point for the governor. I would urge the council to act on behalf of our community, one more arrow in the quiver for our representatives and senators to use as pressure on the governor and her staff to act. And this again was from Brian Iverson with the Downtown Association.
Thank you for that. There's no further discussion from the council or anything. Move forward, but I just wanted to thank Muriel, Kim, and Kelsey for presenting tonight. And your information is much appreciated and extremely helpful to us. More importantly, I want to thank you for, thank each of you for everything you've done this past year in our community. And Muriel, you and your team's work and tireless dedication deserves our greatest gratitude as you continue to strive to protect our citizens and keep them healthy during this unprecedented pandemic. So once again, thank all of you. All right. Thank you guys for being with us tonight. All right, so as we move on, as stated earlier, one of the topics for us to consider tonight was whether we wished Mr. Reed to prepare a resolution for our consideration at the next council meeting. And my understanding of what that resolution would do is as follows. It would allow for any business or person in Prineville to act contrary to, or it would not allow any business or person in Prineville to act contrary to state law or executive order. It would require judicial validation, and it would make a finding that when persons, entities, or businesses are operating under the temporary OSHA COVID-19 rule, they are engaging in good faith effort to comply with relative state and local laws and rules, and that such efforts constitute reasonable precautions to minimize COVID-19 spread, regardless of whether such precautions are consistent with executive orders. It would find that when those persons and businesses were engaging in the precautions as outlined in the OSHA rule, the risk of contracting the coronavirus is low. The resolution itself would provide a tool to any business that was following the OSHA rules in the event that they were prosecuted in a court or an administrative body. However, the resolution would only be effective upon judicial validation. And Mr. Reed, did I summarize that resolution correctly?
Yes, you did, Mayor. I would just reemphasize, though, that it would not allow any business or person in Prineville to defy any sort of state law or executive order.
Thank you. I know that we all have something to say about this, and what I'd like to do is give everybody an opportunity to speak on the issues, and then we can go into a debate or any possible motions after that. And I wanted to remind everybody that the discussion tonight is for the purpose of deciding on if we would like Mr. Reed to prepare a resolution and or consider sending a letter to Governor Brown. Other councils, including Redmond, are considering writing a letter to Governor Brown asking that reopening of certain industries be given the same consideration that she has given schools, which means that it was done on more of a local level. I don't want anybody to think that this is an either-or proposition. We certainly can have both options to be presented at the next council meeting, and that is a resolution to consider and a letter to consider. And with that, I would like to start with the counselor. And Counselor Papke, do you have anything you'd like to say on this?
Wow, first out of the gate, sure. I will try to be as brief as I can, Mr. Mayor. After careful consideration, my feeling is a letter is going to be more impactful, while not giving something maybe as immediate. I know being an educator and seeing what the new rules are and what school districts are allowed to do, I believe that came because of pressure from legislators, from community members, from students, from parents, etc. I truly believe that. And so that's why I believe a letter, while some might view that as just words, I tend to agree with Brian, and some of the things he said is it is another arrow in their quiver. And I think it will provide our representatives the voice of our council along with our voice, specifically as continued pressure to move the governor and the state to allow communities to make these decisions, much like schools. If it's okay for me to be in a classroom with 15 to 20 kids, I see no reason why it wouldn't be safe for businesses following the CDC guidelines to be able to choose whether or not they want to provide their goods and services to the patrons of their cities and communities.
Thank you, Jeff. Councilor Hutchinson.
Thanks, Jason. So I saw this letter on the Z21 News, and then I had Lisa try to get it from the draft letter from the city of Redmond. And so I feel the option that they have in the letter, where it's urging the Prineville city officials and county government to open Crook County up. I mean, it's giving the governor options, and it's following some of the same potential criteria that they did for the schools to open up. Tonight Mariel said it was hard to say, or this is what I heard, it was hard for her to say what small businesses like the restaurants and that have been closed, what impact that has had on COVID because they've been closed. So the data isn't completely there. So I would like to see us move on with the letter and not with the resolution. I don't agree with defying the governor's orders and trying to push things out there. And from some of the letters that we received from some of the small businesses that were in our packet, I mean, one of them even said, "Thank you for reopening the county." That's not what that resolution was for, but that's the way people are interpreting it. And I just think we need to loan our voice to the same as what Redmond is doing. And also be aware, on another side note, I think coming this week, the state will come out with the risks assessment again. So maybe it'll be a moot point after that, and maybe we'll be in high risk rather than extreme risk. So I just think the letter is the best way for us to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Merritt.
I had to unmute. I have some misgivings on the resolution. I have read a lot of comments on the one that was passed in Yamhill, and most of the comments were not in support of the resolution. I do feel we need to give help to our businesses, and I would like to see them safely open. I think the resolution might give them some false hope, and I just am not in agreement with it. But I do fully support the letter. I do like the letter that Mayor Endicott wrote for Redmond, and I would like to see us go the route of the letter before the resolution.
Thank you. Councilor Law.
Let's see. I'm going to say that from my understanding from our previous meeting on what the resolution does, I don't want to use what people think a resolution means as a reason why we should or shouldn't do it. It's what does it really do, everybody can misquote, misunderstand, twist it however they want. But if the resolution, as I understand, provides any security to any business owner who is just trying to save his livelihood, I would absolutely support it. There's way more things that we aren't talking about other than just COVID cases, right? I have personally, I've dealt with these issues when it comes to all kinds of things of people not working, how many families it's affecting. I have a problem with the unemployment that's caused out of this, right? And businesses not being able to open as a business owner myself. Just for fun, I pulled this up today just to give you an idea. This is another hurdle that we have to face in this period due to COVID. I put out for 6 positions in the last 11 months, 146 applicants, 59 that we requested for interviews, and 7 people showed up. 7 out of 59 would even come to an interview. And of those 7, only 1 was seriously looking for a job. And so and I say that because that's not only coming from me through social media and discussing with friends that are also business owners in our community. There's a number of other second and third order effects that are coming out of this COVID other than just business owners losing their livelihood. And we don't have to get into all of those now, but my support is that people have free choice. You have free choice to open, and you have free choice to not support that organization or that restaurant or that business or whatever. You could stay home and distance like we've all been doing for 11 months or not. And so my vote will always be that we give citizens the choice and that we back up our business owners as we're seeing them drop by the wayside almost weekly. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor Law. Councilor Youngman.
I have to say that I do have reservations about a resolution, and I do support sending a letter to Governor Brown. I think pressuring her is a really good place to start. It's my understanding that going through the judicial resolution might take 3 to 6 months to get that through, which, we do want to help the businesses right away. So I do believe the pressure on the governor would be a really good way to go. I'm also, worried, about this. I'm heartsick about a lot of the businesses. I have friends too that are in dire need, but I also am pulled, also knowing the families of people who have lost loved ones to the coronavirus, and it's a real conflict. So with that being said, I'm going to go with the letter is what I would really like to see us go forth and pressure the governor and hope that the vaccines will get this coronavirus out and out of our city, out of our state. That's what I'm really hoping for. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Councilor Youngman. Councilor Appleman.
Yeah, I'm not up for a confrontation with the governor. I think writing a letter and suggesting a workable option for us to move forward is probably the strongest we can do successfully and get some progress in getting businesses open, giving them the tools that hopefully the governor will provide for them and open doors so that some of them can get back into business. But I'm not excited about a proclamation or about a resolution at this point. So I just as soon go with the letter.
Thank you, Councilor Appleman. For myself, I would like to see a resolution and a letter. I think a letter is something that we could do immediately and get to the governor very soon and keep the pressure. on her to help us with our small businesses and give us a little bit of that local control. And I just want to let the rest of council know, I talked with Annette Leva from Governor Brown's office the other day. I had a meeting with her, and she let me know, she goes, the governor's listening. She hears all the communities that are struggling with small businesses, and she's listening. She knows that we're struggling. She knows they're struggling. I made it clear to her that I was not advocating for businesses, for people to defy the mandates. Whether or not the media said I was, it's irrelevant. So, I don't know. I would like to see both, because even though one's going to take a while to get through, it still would give businesses a chance, and that's all I would like to see out of this. So, all right. So we've had a discussion. Do we need to discuss it any further?
Well, it's up to the council. I mean, one important thing to recognize is that the council doesn't have in front of it a resolution or a letter at this point. Really, the discussion and the motions that need to occur are a direction for that. So in regards, there could be a motion to draft a letter and then move forward with that drafting a letter. And then after that, there could be a discussion on who's going to draft that letter. We have a lot of articulate council members that may want to do that. But so that's the letter part. On the resolution part, it'd be the same thing. It would be a direction to draft the resolution, which would be myself drafting that resolution, which would be, as we discussed previously, fundamentally different than Josephine and Yamhill counties because of the definitions that we put in there in regards to what reasonable efforts would be. But at this point, it's really giving direction on how to the particular people you want to bring forth the document to actually make the official decision on.
Okay. So for the council, thank you, Counselor. I mean, so we had two options. It's kind of pretty clear where we're going, but I'm going to throw this out there. Would someone from the council like to make a motion on a resolution?
I would like to make a motion as Counselor Law that we go ahead with the letter, and in the meantime, we have Jared working on the resolution. If it really takes that long and we're still in these conditions, 3 to 6 months, we're in big trouble. A lot of businesses are in big trouble. Our community is in huge trouble. So if we haven't already jumped ahead and prepared for it, we did not do our citizens justice.
And I don't, thank you, Councilor. I don't know if there was a motion actually there. But it's fine. I kind of understood the gist of it. I think from my perspective, that what's really on the table for the council is you have an option to do a motion to draft a letter, which somebody is more than welcome to do. You have a motion that somebody could do to direct city council to draft a resolution for consideration. And then somebody could do a motion to do both. And of course, any of those three options would need a second.
That's my motion, that we draft a letter right now as soon as possible, and that we, on the back end, are working on the resolution. So we're doing both. That's my motion.
This is Councilor Effelman. I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to
do a letter immediately.
To do a letter immediately and work on a resolution to follow. Is that correct?
From what I heard, it's a motion to draft a letter and a motion to direct your city council to draft a resolution for consideration. With a second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second.
Can we have discussion?
Yes,
I'm
we can have discussion.
confused. So we draft the letter, we're making a motion to draft the letter. And then later on, once the resolution is worked on, then we vote on that again?
That's correct, but you're also going to have to vote to approve both of these things as well.
A letter as well.
So you're really just directing staff or whoever's doing these things to start the process. The end result still needs to be approved by this council. So so based on this motion, a letter would be drafted. It would be in front of the council to approve. Basically the same thing Redmond's doing, I think tonight, is they have a draft letter and they were debating it tonight and doing any sort of edits they wanted to do. So that would be the letter portion. The resolution portion would be a resolution that would be created, that would be brought forth to council on the 26th at the earliest. The letter we might be able to do sooner. But in regards to the resolution, it would come in front of this council on the 26th. It would be a traditional type of resolution, just like the resolution for the IGA we're doing a little bit later. It would be included in that would also be a staff report, and then we would have that as an agenda item, and then somebody would have to make a motion and then a second and pass that resolution.
The other thing I'd like to remind the council of on the letter side of things, there's a couple points I'd like to make. One is there is nothing to prevent the council from calling for another meeting, emergency meeting that would need to be noticed. That could happen basically based on the timing of the notice. And once a letter had been circulated, drafted, and approved, ready for approval, we could do that in a matter of days as opposed to weeks. The other thing I would say is we also need to decide tonight, if I could suggest, make a suggestion is, I would say a lot of information was shared tonight, a lot of questions. I think city attorney or counselor, Mr. Jared Reed could get direction from you should you so choose to draft a resolution that would be up for consideration. And we could also assign the drafting of a letter. I think we have a good baseline with the Redmond letter. That could go to a council group, a couple of counselors. That could go to me, or that could go to me and Jared. But those are the decision points that I would suggest we consider tonight.
I agree. I think getting a letter drafted as soon as possible would be, and if we need to have an emergency meeting, that would be really good, because I think that letter will send, along with Redmond's letter, more pressure on Governor Brown.
Yeah, and it would actually be a special meeting, and so the special meeting would occur. We really just have to give 24-hour notice, so we could do a special meeting as quickly as Friday, especially with just the one agenda item.
So do we need to make a motion for that?
No. Well, you could, but we have the motion on the table now for the other things, and then we need to figure out if we're even going to write the letter in the resolution. Excuse me. And then once we're done with that, we would move forward with the logistics of the letter writing, since the resolution logistics are pretty well known.
Right.
So a special meeting can be called by the council or it can be called by the mayor.
Yep. So you have a motion and a second on the table, correct?
Yeah.
Right, but we're still I think there's still a little discussion going on.
There.
So this is Janet. So what, I know we've got a motion and a second on the floor, but I guess what I'm thinking is maybe we could look at doing a motion just for the letter, and then at the next meeting, give a motion on the resolution if we want to do the resolution. I just am more conservative, and I'm concerned about the last meeting. Jared, you said the cost for your end for the resolution was $3,000 to $5,000, and then another $1,000 for the circuit court. When we don't know what's going to happen Friday, we could be in a high risk rather than extreme, and so these businesses can open already. I just don't want to expend the money if we don't have to expend the money on legal fees getting the resolution done. So I guess in my mind, I think we should do the letter first and then do the resolution if people still want to do it at the next council meeting, because there's been a vast change in what people think from the last meeting until this meeting.
Yeah, and I would have just a few things with that, Councilwoman Hutchinson, and that's one is the cost of it. That actually it wasn't $5,000 plus $1,000. The $1,000 was kind of in there already, so it would, and that would only be to full blown. You've seen the entire thing through, so just on those numbers that clarify that. But also, so A, we have a resolution. Or not a resolution, we already have a motion on the table, so that's going to have to be voted on. And then two, in regards to what you just suggested, the motion actually would achieve what you just suggested, because the letter itself would be drafted soon, and then the actual resolution doesn't even get voted on until the next council meeting. And that's even if somebody did a motion. So the motion on the table wouldn't actually approve the resolution, it would just direct me to draft it.
This is Councilor Uffelman. I hear people thinking that we may get out of the extreme category, but with 19 cases, COVID cases listed yesterday, the possibility of our getting out of the extreme classification is virtually non-existent at this stage. I wouldn't be optimistic about that at all. I think we just need to move forward.
Councilman Papke, and I would agree. I think tonight we're starting a process. This is by no means the end. For 9 months, we've lived with uncertainty, and it's always, oh, tomorrow's gonna be better, tomorrow's gonna be worse, tomorrow's gonna be better. And I think this is an opportunity for us to, as much as we can, start mitigating as best we can to help the community. And by no means is this vote and approving the motion that Councilman Law made, by no means are we sending the letter and sending the resolution tonight, but it's the first step in a process, and we've got to get this started. And instead of debating something that we don't have in front of us and haven't drafted and haven't read, let's at least get them on the table so we can have a more accurate debate about them and deciding what we want them to say, and also if this is something that we want to put the council's voice behind. So I would encourage everyone to vote in favor of the motion.
Is there any other discussion? Anything? All right, so we have a motion and a second on the floor with discussion. I'm going to do the roll call vote. Councilor Papke?
Aye.
Councilor Hutchison?
I'm still undecided. So I guess, is that a no then? I mean, I hear what you guys are saying, that we need to move on it. If the resolution wasn't there, I'd say yes, but because of the resolution being there, I guess mine's no.
Okay. Councilor Merritt?
I'm going to go with aye.
Councilor Law?
Aye.
Councilor Youngman?
I have to kind of agree. I don't really care for the resolution, but we want to get this going. So I'm going to vote for aye, and then on the next one, we'll have more discussion.
And Councilor Uffelman?
Aye.
And myself, I vote aye. So that passes 6-1. Thank you all for the discussion on that, because this is tough, and we'll have more discussion in the future on this. And now, that being said, there was some discussion brought up within that of putting together some council members. Would a couple of the council members like to draft a letter? and be involved in that process. And like City Manager Forrester said, that can be a few of the council members and the city manager, a few of the council members, city manager and county or city council.
And just to clarify, if a couple of councilors would like to take that task on, certainly the city manager and Jared Reed, our city attorney, will be available to assist.
I'll be honest with you, I don't want to. Don't feel comfortable drafting a letter.
And if the council would like the city manager and the city attorney to draft a letter, that works as well.
I think Steve Forrester has great skills in writing.
I don't know if your city attorney would agree with you. I would be happy to draft a letter. I will use Jared's expertise as well in doing that and get that back to you in a very timely fashion. Actually, Jared Reed will be doing most of it. I'm also good at delegating. But I will gladly take the task on should the council direct me in that direction.
Only because Jared knows those big fancy words.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's taken me a long time to learn all these words.
So he's good at sesquipedalian words, Jeff.
Do we have a consensus to move forward with the city manager?
I'd like to see the city manager take that responsibility. This is Steve Uffelman.
Thank you, Steve. I would too.
Okay.
Agreed.
I would also.
Thank you.
All right, sounds like we have a consensus.
So the final thing on the table for the council to continue moving this ball forward, which I know everybody wants to do, is whether somebody wants to do a motion for a special meeting at noon on Friday.
I'll make that motion for a meeting at noon on Friday for a special meeting.
Do we have a second? All right, so we have a motion and a second for a special meeting at noon on Friday. Councilor Papke?
That would be January 15th.
Oh, sorry, January 15th. We'll do a roll call vote. So Councilor Papke?
Aye.
Councilor Hutchison?
I guess I'm going to have to say no. That's our anniversary and we're out of town.
Okay, well, no problem. Councilor Merritt?
Aye.
Councilor Law?
Aye.
Councilor Youngman?
Aye.
And Councilor Uffelman?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So that passes 6-1. Thank you.
And Ms. Morgan, we can get that notice, correct?
Yes, we can. I'll get it out tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, well, we'll move on. Staff reports and
Are we clear on the resolution?
Yep.
You've got that. Got it. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Manager's report, Steve Forrester.
I have a really short report tonight for the council. I'm sure that you're happy to hear that. We wanted to make the council aware from the finance department, the city has started the official process of building the next 2-year biannual budget. We are working with Director Liz Schutte and Lori Hooper, our senior accountant, to update the budget versus actual and year-end estimates by department. Our budget calendar is now out to staff, and we'll be working with council on scheduling strategy and goal-setting meetings in the next few weeks. Also, Liz Schutte, our finance director, wanted the council to know that we have received a very successful audit. That audit has been submitted to the state and is on the website for your review. And that concludes my report tonight. Are there any questions?
Steve, what did you guys find out about the ASR, the trusses falling down? Is there any more information on that?
I think there could be a little bit, and I would like to defer to City Engineer and Public Works Director Eric Klon to answer that question. Eric, can you answer that, please?
Yeah, so they just kind of rookie mistake. They had a big wind gust come up and broke their holds of the trusses. Luckily, no one was hurt. They lost a few trusses, and because of that, lost about 2 days on their schedule, but they were a week ahead of time, so that's good. And at the end of the day, no one was hurt, so we're very pleased with that.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you, and thank God no one was hurt.
Amen.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to committee reports. Are there any committee reports for me and the council members? All right, well, I have one. I'll make it short. I attended the COCO meeting, Central Oregon Cities Organization, on January 11th. Just a few quick notes of what was discussed. Doug Riggs, the COCO lobbyist, yes, it slipped my mind, said that there are 3,200 bills presented to the Oregon legislature right now. That's a lot. They said, I think the 2,200 or around there was the last highest account or amount. So there's a lot going on there. Oregon could possibly add a 6th congressional district. And we may get a new House seat in Central Oregon. So those are things that are coming up. There's a possibility, I'm sure this will come down the road, Eric, SDCs, it seems like the state wants to do a one-size-fits-all, where that's not going to work for communities like ours. So we could see that come up in the future. But other than that, one shining moment made me feel good for our city staff was Mayor Endicott said they are following suit with a wetlands project just like Prineville. So I was happy to hear that we've jumped out in the front. And now people are following suit with the projects that our city has done. So that's all I had. Any other committee reports? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to ordinances. We have ordinance number 1263, adopting changes to Prineville Code Section 150.01. For the second presentation, Josh Smith.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Council. This is just a second reading for something we reviewed last year. It's simply an update to our part of our land use code to update the references to county and state building codes.
All right, thank you, Josh. Yeah, is there any questions for Josh? All right, hearing none, we'll do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 1263 for a second presentation?
This is Councilor Hutchison. I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 1263, adopting changes to Prineville Code Section 150.01.
Do we have a second?
This is Councilor Youngman. I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 1263 for a second presentation. Any further discussion? All right, I will do a roll call vote. Councilor Appelman?
Aye.
Councilor Hutchison?
Aye.
Councilor Youngman?
Aye.
Councilor Merritt?
Aye.
Councilor Papke?
Aye.
Councilor Law?
Aye.
The mayor votes aye, passes unanimously. All right, we'll move on to resolutions. We have resolution number 1470, authorizing to enter into an IGA with Kirk County for radio system repair and maintenance. James Wilson?
Good evening, Council. Before you this evening, Resolution 1470. This authorizes us to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the county with regard to the Cook County Road Department's radio system. For a number of years, the road department has used a radio shop out of Bend to maintain. They have two repeater sites that are co-located on the same towers that we maintain for the 911 system. That shop is now no longer in business, and the county would like to bring that maintenance over to the city. They are contributing funds to take care of that through this agreement. We're already at those sites doing that work for other public safety agencies within the county. So this is just kind of a common sense agreement that also enables us to add them to our system so that we can do interoperability between first responders as we move to a next gen radio system. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for James? Okay, hearing no questions, do I have a motion to approve resolution number 1470?
This is Counselor Merritt, and I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 1470.
This is Steve Uffman, and I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 1470. Is there any further discussion? Nope, hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. Counselor Uffman?
Aye.
Counselor Hutchison?
Aye.
Counselor Youngman?
Aye.
Counselor Merritt?
Aye.
Counselor Papke?
Aye.
Counselor Law?
Aye.
And myself, I vote aye. Passes unanimously.
Thank you, Council.
All right, we are down visitors appearance and request. James, I doubt there's anybody since it's all written communications now.
Yeah, pursuant to resolution during the pandemic, all public comments been submitted online, which we already taken care of.
All right, well, that's the end of the, thank you for a long night.
We need to do a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Adjournment.
We have a motion and a second, or do we have a second?
I'll second it. This is Patricia.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Passes unanimously.